Yes.
Jeremy, just tell us, what is the Kenyatta University Green Educational Hub all about?
Thank you. KU Green Education Hub was launched on 11th May 2022. It's a center of information. The hub stores materials to expose students to climate information. We store local case studies, documentation in short videos. We display portraits, and these materials are co-created with the students. We give the student the chance to participate in creating materials that expose their peers to matters of sustainability issues. Besides that, the hub engages in research, where we plan to go out to the community, speak to the community, identify issues that the community is facing in relation to climate change, and conduct evidence-based research and propose practical solutions. Practical solutions, we are calling them the locally led adaptations for each community, because the impact of climate change, they are unique to each locality. So when we conduct the research, we're able to tell this community, you have to engage in this solution or adaptation. Yes.
And looking at the event of the day, the Green Education Day, the event that actually is bringing up the idea and highlighting this whole story, what is it all about? It does mean there's a fast for Kenyatta University. So I'm very curious to know, what is it all about?
Okay. The Green Education Day was conceived under the Transforming Universities for Changing Climate deliberation through the Kenyatta University Participatory Action Research Group. This is a team that brings together stakeholders from the university. We are talking the faculty members, the university students, stakeholders from the NGOs. We are working with the Pan-African Climate Justice. There is NEMA, there is the communities. So they came up and said, after we expose our students to curriculum that speaks on climate issues, we need now to provide them a platform for hands-on experience. So the Green Education Day provides a platform for students to create themed awareness on climate issues, where they can do awareness work, they can do tree planting, they can do community cleanups. So for the first Green Education Day that we are going to have tomorrow, the student will participate in awareness work. The work will start from the School of Education building through the Campanile up to the Kenyatta University Business Center. Apart from that, we are exposing them to the World Climate Simulation. Students will have to role play the international forums where the developed and developing nation come together and deliberate on how they are going to lower their emissions. So it's a day to provide hands-on experience to the student to build their energy in the fight against climate change. Yes.
And I'm liking what you're bringing out, because maybe ordinary or mundane level, we are usually used to understanding when you hear climate change, we expect only trees are being planted, and all that is around there is just tree planting. We usually actually focus more on tree planting. When you're talking about climate change, you're thinking about how you're going to plant trees. Maybe give us an expose. Is this all that is encompassed when you're talking about climate change? I'm just thinking of how many trees you're going to multiply.
Climate change mitigation is not about tree planting only. That's the simplest form you can do to mitigate climate change. There is more to that. There is the advocacy, where you need to talk to the communities, talk to the people that climate change issues are real, for them to understand. When they are planting the trees, they know, I'm going to plant the tree to mitigate what and what. You need to create awareness campaigns through schools activities. Like the Green Education Hub, we are using the eco tournaments here. So far we have held 2 tournaments at Kenyatta University. So the students get to learn as they engage in these fun activities. And the other thing, if you want to tackle climate change, you have to engage in research to generate evidence-based practical solutions. So it's not about tree planting only. There is more to that.
There's more to it.
Yes.
And I'm looking at Kenyatta University as an institution that is actually playing a key role in trying to actually create awareness concerning the effects of climate change. And on media outlets, a lot of them, there's been talk that universities and institutions are not doing much to actually create such awareness to the youth. Now, my question is this: on your perspective, do the youth have a role in looking at climate change? Because there is that perspective that this is something for the aged. Hii ni ya wazee. Unajua, there is that perspective. What the youth are sort of focused on is like no more or less concerning the climate change issue. How are you viewing this?
That's a very good question. Youths have a huge role to play in matters of addressing climate change. One is through providing a platform for them to co-create the knowledge. Like I said, the youth, they have the energy to participate in these activities,
Very
and
true.
they are well informed. For us at the Green Education Hub, we have given them the platform to share, to come up with materials. For example, right now we have begun the activity of collecting a 2-minute video from the youth, storytelling on the impact of climate change here in Kenya. So you are already involving them with coming up with the teaching and the learning materials. So youth, the involvement of youth, it's quite a crucial part to play in mitigating climate change.
And let me ask you this, Jeremy.
Yes.
What is your thought on integrating the whole subject of climate change? Maybe in our curriculum, you have the CBC coming out. What do you think about injecting something about climate change in that curriculum?
I think that's a very good step to coming to generating environmentally conscious generation. We are building up on the provisions of the Vision 2030 and the National Environment Policy of 2016 that state that we need to come up with a national examinable curriculum on matters climate change. And KU is taking the front seat in that. Under the Transforming Universities for a Changing Climate, we have now reviewed the leadership program to integrate two topics on climate change. One is the leadership and climate change. The other one is sustainable development goals. So institutions must mainstream issues of climate change into their curriculum. At the tertiary level, at the secondary level, at the basic levels of learning.
Very true.
Yes.
And something else I'd like to highlight. You've talked about climate change involving other things such as advocacy.
Yes.
We are headed into an elective period. Manifestos are coming out from every camp that is, or maybe set aside in going to take over the country. We've seen our president being present in very many tree planting exercises. We've seen him at Stockholm, where he was actually representing the country and even the East African bloc. There's a lot that we've seen from the current president. Now we are looking at a set of new leaders who are seeking office. But unfortunately, I have not had a manifesto or an idea being projected towards climate change. Is there a way that the Green Education Hub is moving to maybe even lobby them into involving matters of climate change into their manifestos?
That's a good question. I also haven't seen any political leader speaking on matters climate.
It's a very blind side. No one is actually talking about it.
Yeah, that's true. But for us at the Green Education Hub, we are coming up with a white paper. We are going to talk about the progress of the Transforming University for a Changing Climate, the issues of coming up with a curriculum intervention at KU, at KISI, at KEMU, and we are going to lobby through the Commission University of Education for other institutions and seek support also from the political figures so that we have the political goodwill to roll up issues of effort to combat climate change into other institutions of education. Yes.
And let me come now to your broad spectrum where you're focused on urban development.
Yes.
Me, I'm trying to get a picture of Nairobi as a young man who came and found Nairobi here.
Yes.
Now, looking at it from you, from an experienced eye, when you look at Nairobi and the number of slums that are around it, the waste management systems, now, do you think Nairobi was planned for, or Nairobi just sprouted? And let me give me your take.
Okay, actually I did my research project in Mukuru slum, and it was very difficult to find a master plan during when Nairobi was being planned or being started as a city or maybe as a town. For me, I think we have started to see issues of planning in the early 2000s, or maybe after the formulation of the Vision 2030 or the formulation of the National Climate Change Strategy. But in the past, I don't think there was a plan for Nairobi.
Okay,
so
it's good that you've brought that out.
Yes.
Because now I'm looking at a situation where it means we are in a mess that needs to be remedied. Now, looking at the fact that when a city or even an uprising, a town or the sort of comes up and there is no proper planning about it, there is an effect that will be met to the climate.
Yes.
I'm very sure, because if you're not able to manage the way everything, the ecosystem the way it is, there will be an effect to the climate generally, and it is a problem that we are facing even on a global perspective.
Yes.
Now, looking at the state as it is, with using Nairobi as a case study right now because we are in Nairobi, what do you think can be done to ensure we change the situation as it is right now, and maybe something that we may be able to apply even in the coming up of future cities? And Nakuru is about to be a city, is actually a city right now, and it still has a lot to look up in the master plan and everything to ensure it does not go the way that Nairobi was there. What do you think can be done?
Okay, a lot can be done, and I like there are several initiatives coming up to transform Nairobi into a green city. One is the planting of the trees, of the flowers under the expressway. People are seeing it as a controversial thing, but I think that's a very good thing to reduce our carbon footprint as a city and clean up the city. You know, there are cities like Mumbai where they have gone for almost 2 days without seeing the sunlight because of pollution.
My goodness.
So if we adopt such measures within Nairobi in many expressways, we are going to clean the air. People should view that as a good thing. The other something that's happening in Nairobi is the protection of the green spaces. We have seen now the government is more involved in protecting green spaces like Uhuru Park. I can't name quite, there are very many, but these are spaces that we call the buffer zone against the urban heat island. The city is, as the temperature is a bit higher than the hinterlands. So the green spaces, they are quite, they have begun to be protected in Nairobi. The other issue that can be addressed to transform Nairobi into a green city is the issue of waste. And the Green Education Hub is currently working on a proposal or a project to try and influence the political class and the private sector to come up with green intervention, like the clean energy. We are talking about solar. We are talking about weed. We are talking about biogas in the slum where they generate a lot of waste. So if we incorporate these issues of circular economy in the slums, we are able to cut the waste and transform the Nairobi into a cleaner city, invest more in cleaner production. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm looking at, there's something you've mentioned there about gases, greenhouse gases. You know, for someone who has not really understood what you're saying, or maybe may not be able to understand, what are greenhouse gases and is it green gases? What the hell, what is all about that? Green
gases are not literally green. These are gases that trap it at the Earth's atmosphere. They allow it from the sunlight to come into the earth, but prevent it from going back. So they form like a blanket at the atmosphere, they lead to a phenomenon known as the greenhouse effect, which now leads to the global warming, an aspect of climate change. Like, for example, now the regions in the Europe, like the UK, they're experiencing high temperatures.
Yeah.
We could attribute that to issues of greenhouse effect. The melting of the glaciers here in Mount Kenya is the global rise of temperature as a result of greenhouse gas effect.
And by the way, is the current situation of weather, even in Kenya, that we are facing seasons that are shifting by themselves, an effect of greenhouse gases?
Not an effect of greenhouse gases. Shifting of weather is an effect of climate change itself, not greenhouse gases. We call it unpredictable weather patterns. And we say that for you to really say that the weather is changing as a result of climate change, you have to have data for around 30 years, or rely on the local indigenous knowledge for people who have been there more than 30 years to really tell you that between March and June we used to receive a lot of rainfall, but right now it's now shifting to dry months. So changing of weather is not as it's greenhouse gases contribute a bit less, but the whole phenomenon of unpredictable weather patterns is a result of the entire phenomenon of climate change.
Okay, I'm getting that. And the Green Educational Day.
Yes.
Looking at matters of population.
Yes.
We are the youth.
Yeah.
We are people who are supposed to multiply.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I'm looking at population growth as something that is also affecting climate change.
Yes.
You're not a population multiplication expert, but I'm going to ask you as a climate expert.
Yes.
How do we go about this as the youth?
Yes. We can't control population even if we tried what measures. But I think what we need to change is our practices. We need to shift to more sustainable lifestyles. In lifestyles, I'm saying we adopt smart agriculture practices. Practices that do not cause harm to this buffer zone we are calling the forest, the riparian zone, the wetlands. We need now to focus more on issues of clean energy to reduce our emissions, because people will develop, the population will increase, but if we adopt the sustainable practices, relying more on under the guidance of the international conventions like the Paris climate, like the Kyoto protocol that was there to guide on reduction of emission, or the sustainable development goals, the 17 of them that articulate issues that humanity must adopt to achieve sustainable development. So it's all about changing our lifestyles.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I'm getting very much enlightened, and I'm going to ask you, the Green Education Hub, is it only the day of the Green Education Day? Is it only open to KU students? Are you inviting other people? Can anybody else come and get enlightened?
Yeah, sure. Tomorrow will be the first Green Education Day, and we will mark it every last Friday of the month. And tomorrow we are privileged to host several students from other universities. We have, for example, JQuat, we have Egerton, we have the African Nazarene, we have University of Nairobi. So it's not only close to the Kenyatta University community. We are also hosting NGOs like the Environmental Institute of Kenya, the Spicy Warriors. So we don't want the climate change advocacy or awareness or practical issues to be within KU. We are saying KU, let it be a role model with a vision of rolling it out to other institutions and rolling out to the community. Yeah, KU is just taking the front seat in showing others that higher institution of education can participate in climate action.
Yes. Indeed, a first seat, a first step in climate change.
Yes.
Hashtag Green Education Day. I believe that's what will be running tomorrow on Twitter, trending all over.
Yeah.
Hashtag Green Education Day. You just had it. And thank you so much, Jeremy. You know, for that moment, what you've given us is priceless.
Yes.
And since it will be like constant online, it is a very good call. In fact, you are a young tech. And you, the fact that you're already in the course is something that is very encouraging.
Thank you.
Thank you for so much for your time today.
And you are invited tomorrow too.
Of course. Of course. All right, we take another short break right here on KUTV Primetime News. You have been enlightened. Stay tuned. You'll be enlightened even more.